Hello everyone and welcome to my channel. This is the second part of What If Deku Was a Magical Girl Mascot. Quirk, Magical Girl Mascot. The author of this great fanfic is Emma Ively. Links to them and original story in the description. Chapter 2, Acceptance. During the train ride, Izuku explained to Achiko part of his situation involving his own transformation, namely that his animal form was his default form. Seriously? Asked Achiko. I can only spend a certain amount of time in my human form. He explained as he sat on Katsuki's shoulder, but the rest of the time. He's a stuffed toy. Said Katsuki. Kaken, don't call me that. Said Izuku. How long do you have? Asked Achiko. Don't know. Said Izuku, who began what appeared to be some sort of mutter spree. I hadn't made a bond since I was 4 and last time I doubled from 2 hours when I first bonded with Kaken to 4 when I bonded with my mom, so either I have 8 hours or if it just adds 2 hours then I have 6 hours now. Will you shut up? Muttered Katsuki. Wait, were you always like this or were you born human? Asked Achiko. Born human. Normal ears and no tail. Then when my quirk came in. Said Izuku. We thought a villain turned him into that. Said Katsuki, no, it's just his weird-ass quirk. Until I accidentally bonded with Kaken, I was stuck like this for days. Said Izuku. She began to pet his head. It's okay now. Said Achiko. Please stop petting me. Said Izuku. But? Said Achiko. Izuku noticed that his tail was wagging as she petted him. Stop that. He hissed at his tail. But of course it wouldn't obey. This only made Achiko laugh. Soon enough they got to the stop and headed to Izuku's apartment. Izuku turned to his human form as he didn't have any pockets or clothes in his animal form. Thankfully anything he's holding in his human form just goes somewhere. He guesses it's similar to what happens to the clothes and items the others were wearing when they transform into their magical girl form. Mom! I'm home! Called out Izuku. I made tea for everyone. Called out his mother. They headed to the living room/kitchen. Hey Mom! Said Izuku. Hello Izuku. Katsuki. Said Izuku's mother, who had green hair and appeared to be in her late 20s or early 30s. Achiko noticed that she was also wearing the same type of necklace as she and Katsuki was wearing, except her gem was green, and you're Izuku's new partner. It's nice to meet you. Yeah, it's nice to meet you, Mrs. Midoriya. Said Achiko. Oh, you can call me Inko. Said Izuku's mom. That was when she started to cry. What? Said Achiko. Mom! Cried Izuku. I'm sorry. But you haven't made a bond since you were little and with everything. I wasn't sure you would ever make another one. Cried Inko. Katsuki snorted as she sat down. Come on, you're the one always telling us that hero students would accept us no matter what. Said Katsuki. I know, but still. Sniffled Inko. Achiko sat down next to Katsuki. Just a heads up, both of them cry a lot, so you better get used to it. Said Katsuki. Okay. Said Achiko. So you mentioned you had to bond with her to save her, said Inko, managing to calm down. Oh right. Said Izuku. This is going to suck. Katsuki muttered to herself. Izuku explained why he bonded with her and the giant robot. And so they explained about the 0-pointer along with the robot part of the test. Inko just stared at them. Please tell me you're lying. Said Inko. None of the three looked at her in the eye. Seriously? Asked Inko. Mom, it's the best hero schools in the country. Said Izuku, it makes sense that the test would be that way. I know, but... Said Inko, I'm sure Katsuki was. We were assigned different testing grounds. Said Izuku. I see. Sighed Inko, well at least. Both of you are safe and didn't fight that 0-pointer. Izuku nodded, however Katsuki was calmly sipping her tea. Both Inko and Izuku stared at the girl. Really, Kaken? Asked Izuku. I don't know what you mean, said Katsuki. Flashback. Katsuki was using her wand to cause explosions to blow up all over the zero-pointer, damaging it. Sure, she wasn't getting any points, but still, it was a great way to test her wand's capabilities. She knew quite a bit, but it's always good to learn more. Die! She yelled at the robot. Of course, those sharing the test area just stared at the girl. End of flashback. Said Achiko, deciding to change the subject. You look so young. I was surprised to know you're his mom. Oh, I get that all the time, said Inko. I haven't aged since I bonded with Izuku. The doctors think that his quirk stopped my aging, and it might happen to you and Katsuki after a certain point. Achiko was just shocked by this. Are you serious? Asked Achiko in shock. There are a lot we have to tell you, sighed Izuku. They told her about his copying ability, as well as the fact that Achiko can summon a wand that would utilize her quirk in a certain way. Along with the name of Izuku's quirk, which did make her giggle. Also, they told her about the side effect if a male makes a bond and what happens to them, and told them how they knew that. Katsuki was glaring at her. I'm fine with it, said Achiko. It's not your fault it happened. Izuku breathed a sigh of relief when she said, while Katsuki snorted. Deku, said Katsuki. Achiko froze as she felt the telepathic connection again open. Seriously, she said out loud. Izuku, scolded Inko telepathically. Sorry, it's just, said Izuku, closing it off. We're not exactly popular at our school, muttered Katsuki. There's plenty of kids we grew up with, and those that didn't still heard about it. The fuckers always say stuff like, oh, there's brainwashing involved, or that Deku steals souls. Honestly, the teachers don't do anything, and if they're in the room, they don't even try to stop it. Honestly, it's always been the two of us against the world. That's horrible, said Achiko. I was right though, said Inko. About what? Asked Achiko. I always reassured them that if they go to hero school, those learning how to be heroes won't care and will see them for them, said Inko. Achiko looked at the two of them. It was clear they had been through a lot. We're partners now, right? Asked Achiko. Izuku smiled. And hopefully all three of you will be accepted, said Inko. Izuku sighed. Deku, I'm sure you got enough points, muttered Katsuki. I know you got a lot of points, said Izuku. I just don't want to do plan B. What's plan B? Asked Achiko. See, I could be registered as Katsuki's animal partner, said Izuku, blushing. Achiko stared at Izuku, who was blushing so hard. But you're human, said Achiko. But most of the item I'm in my animal form, and even if I go to sleep as a human I'll end up turning back, said Izuku. We won't have to do it, Deku. I'm sure you have enough points, said Katsuki. Izuku was blushing even more. Before Achiko left, they exchanged phone number so they could have conversations one-on-one. Though they did tell here was a nightly telepathic conversation between them, and since Izuku hadn't figured out how to make it one-on-one yet, it was a group conversation. But it was fun. Achiko was a really nice girl, although she lived far away. Though if got into UA, then she would move much closer. Over the course of the next week, Izuku was still worried. That is until Inko showed up with a letter from UA. It's here, said Inko. Izuku decided to read it alone. He went to room. He opened the letter and it was a holograph disc that came to on right away. I am here. As a hologram. The hologram came to life, showing a very muscular man with blonde hair and a bright smile. All Might. I thought this was Form UA, said Izuku, though his tail was wagging seriously. All Might was the great of all heroes and Izuku was a big fan. Like really big. Like his room was covered in his posters and other merch. Big fan. Ever since was a child he looked up to All Might. And to have a holographic letter from him. Now you must be wondering why I'm here. You see, starting this year you were looking at the new heroics teacher at UA. Said All Might. No way. Said Izuku. All Might nodded. Now let's get into your test scores. Your written exam was one of the highest, but of course you can't get into the hero course on just the written test alone. You managed to get a score of 34, not bad. However, the truth is there was a metric we don't tell those taking the tests. Explained the All Might hologram. Izuku's eyes widened. You see, there was an additional set of scores we judge on. After all, we are trying to teach heroes? Asked All Might. That was when it started showing footage of when he saved Ochako. You see, in addition to all of the villain points we have award rescue points. Said All Might, the teachers act as judges, though there were a few problems as they were distracted by your unique quirk. Yeah, that's kind of understandable. Said Izuku. He knew his quirk was interesting. Once they were able to rewatch it, it was determined that your rescue of young Uraraka was worth 50 rescue points. Meaning you have a total of 83 points. No way. Said Izuku, tail wagging like crazy. Welcome to You Hero Academia. Said All Might with a grin. Izuku's tail was wagging like crazy. He activated the telepathy. Did you guys get your letters yet? Asked Izuku. Fuck yeah. Yelled Katsuki, I beat up 103 points of villains. Got first place too. Alright, Kaken. Cheered Ochako, who had since picked up the 2 nicknames. What about you, Deku? I got over 30 villain points and 50 rescue points when I saved you. Explained Izuku. I got 28 villain points and 45 rescue points. Said Ochako, I'm in too. Wait, rescue points? Asked Katsuki. Turned out there was a secret point system. Said Izuku, and Katsuki, you just fought the villains, didn't you? Asked Inko, who quickly put together the pieces. They just told us to fight the villains. Muttered Katsuki, how was I supposed to know we also had to help people? Besides, when we become heroes, that will be Deku's job. He'll save them while I fight the villains. Izuku sighed at his friend. But still. Cheered Ochako, all of us are going to UA. Are you two ready? You still have a couple months. Giggled Inko, plus you 3 still need to graduate before you can go to UA. By the way, Deku. Said Ochako, how much did your tail wag when you saw All Might? Oh, come on. Said Izuku. I bet so much wagging. Laughed Katsuki. Please stop. Sighed Izuku. He could even hear his own mother join in the giggles. But still all of them were going to UA. But of course they had to deal with their middle schools until graduation. Which included Katsuki and Izuku being brought to the principal to congratulate them. As he did, Katsuki just glared at the principal. About how the 2 top students were let in the best hero school in the country, and even getting some of the top scores at that. After the meeting, Katsuki unleashed some explosions. That bastard. Yelled Katsuki, congratulate us when all of the teachers just turned their backs when the entire school belittled and bullied us. That two-faced bastard. Katsuki, calm down, please. Begged Izuku. Katsuki began to calm down. You know what, I think for the first time in my life I won't be getting mad. Said Katsuki. I have a bad feeling about this. Said Izuku. Katsuki took out her phone. Turned out she often filmed the bullying that the teacher ignored. She decided for once in her life to listen to the phrase, don't get mad, get even. During break, Katsuki anonymously released the video online about the bullying, so much that there was an investigation opened up. Turned out with the rise of quirks there were anti-bullying laws set up. After all, with so many people with powers, if someone was bullied they could use their quirk to do something to the school. It wasn't all brining down their school. Achiko had to move somewhere close to the school. Thankfully Inko helped in trying to find the girl an apartment close by. And found a cheap one-room. With Inko offering the girl to each over for dinner whenever she needed to. Her parents at first were worried when a boy had mind-linked. But after learning that it wasn't all the time, that there were two others, including another girl and his mother, they realized it should be fine. Especially since Inko was a big help and promising to look after the girl. Also, while she didn't see it on her first visit, Achiko finally saw Izuku's room. During the first week she had learned that Izuku was a huge All Might fan during the conversations. But she finally saw his room. She couldn't help to giggle at the rather fun combination. Due to the fact that his default form was that of his animal form, most of the furniture of the room was tiny. A little bed, a little desk and chair. There were a couple regular-sized chairs, plus some full-sized shelves just to keep some of his All Might stuff. But the combination of the All Might nerd room and the adore tiny furniture got Achiko laughing. "Please stop," cried Izuku. "But it's so cute," laughed Achiko. Izuku sighed. Also during this time, there was a meeting where it was decided that something should happen during the school year. "I need 2 more partners by the end of the school year?" asked Izuku. "Why?" "Izuku, you need more time as a human," said Inko. "If you're going to be a hero, you can't limit yourself to 6 hours," said Katsuki. Izuku sighed and knew that they had a point. After figuring out that adding another partner added 2 hours to his time and not doubled it. "But what if they all reject me?" asked Izuku. "I doubt we'll be the only 2 girls in class," said Katsuki. "I'm sure there would be someone in class who would want a bond," said Achiko. "Besides, the deadline is the end of the school year. I'm sure by that point you'll befriend 2 girls who would want to join you." "But what if?" said Izuku. "Deku, I doubt you'd end up in a class of only guys," said Katsuki with a sweat drop. Izuku sighed. He just hoped they would write. Katsuki and Izuku also during this time brought Achiko to a place they usually secretly trained, a beach that was a literal dump. "I know I haven't really had the chance to use my powers since the exam," sighed Achiko, "but this place? No cares about this place," said Katsuki. "We've been using this place for years and like Kaken just said, no one cares," said Izuku in his animal form. "Okay," sighed Achiko. She grabbed her necklace and transformed. She remembered how she was able to use her quirk without touching anything. This time thankfully nothing was just floating around her. However, she did look at something and the motion over to it. It started to float. "I don't even have to touch it," said Achiko. "That's all well and good, but you need your weapon," said Katsuki. "Weapon?" asked Achiko. "Oh wait, you mean the wand?" Katsuki just likes calling it that because, well," said Izuku. "Look, just place your hand on your gem and focus," said Katsuki. It should appeared. Achiko did so and a light pink light erupted from the gem, and that light took the form of a wand with a light pink handle. At the tip of the wand was a bubble, and with that bubble was a yellow star. "Oh wow," said Achiko. "So how does it work?" "Just point at it as something and see what happens," said Katsuki with a shrug. Achiko pointed it as garbage. They started to float, but something in the mind told her to try something else. She focused on the feeling and the garbage that was floating fell down with a mighty crash. "No way," said Achiko, figuring it out. "No way. With your wand not only do you remove the gravity from items but can also increase it." "That's so awesome," said Izuku with his tail wagging. "This is so awesome," cheered Achiko. "I think she might be going mad with power," snorted Katsuki. "So did you when you found your wand?" joked Izuku. Katsuki glared at the small animal. "Please don't look at me that way, Kaken," cried Izuku. But of course spring break would eventually end and it would soon be the first day of school. Izuku left the apartment in his human form. Though he knew had to go most of the way in his animal form, thankfully Ochako was going to help him to school because well, tiny animal wasn't exactly something that should take the train alone. "Do you have your handkerchief?" said Inko. "I do," said Izuku. "Pocket tissue?" said Inko. "I do," said Izuku. "You didn't fill your backpack with action figures?" asked Inko. "I haven't done that in years," said Izuku. "Ochiko's waiting for me." He was just about to leave. "Wait, Izuku," said Inko. "Yeah?" asked Izuku. "You look so cool," said Inko. Izuku smiled brightly. He headed out and got to the entrance of the apartment complex where Ochako was waiting for him. He saw her in the uniform and blushed. "Everything okay?" asked Ochako. "It's fine," said Izuku. He switched to his animal form and jumped onto Ochiko's shoulder. "You ready to go to UA?" asked Ochako. Izuku smiled as he rode on her shoulder. And so their first day at UA would begin. That will be it for this part. I hope everyone enjoyed. If you did, please leave a like and comment if you want part 3. If you want to hear more from me, subscribe. I hope to see you all in the next one.